before we move on to the ad sets and targeting options, there's just one very important thing for you to know that could potentially save you hundreds of hours if you do implement it properly in the beginning, because if you get lost in your campaigns, you could end up being in lots of trouble. So that would be the last promise that I made for you, and that's the campaign naming conventions. Now that we know how to structure and organize our campaigns, it's also time to think about how to name them properly so we can find everything. And here I've done a little helper document to help us with that, and we'll take an example scenario. Let's say you were just hired by BMW to be their new social media advertising manager. And they're a huge company. They don't have time to deal with you. They're huge bosses, and they just kind of gave you the products, the different kinds of objectives that you have to reach, some kinds of definitions of audiences, some languages, and some other things that you need to promote. And so let me just first explain the problem. First of all, when you look at the products, those would be the different products in the BMW arsenal. And if you go to their website, you can easily see that they have 1 series, 2 series, which has 6 models, 3 series has 3, 4 series has 3 again, 5 series has 2, 6 series and 7 are just 1. And then you have 3, 8 series and I don't know, 7, 8 models in the X series, Z, and a lot of M performance models, and then you have the I series. So each series is actually more than one car, more than one model, and those could end up being more than 12 in general. And then for each of these models of the cars, you need to have different objectives. Let's say you have awareness objectives for just making people aware of these cars. You have a lead campaign where you want people to sign up for a test drive. You can also have a conversions campaign to test which of the two will do better. And then you can have also a campaign for inquiries and for the so-called BMW configurator, which you can use. So for example, that would be this configurator over here, which would let you configure your car in the way that you want so that you can purchase it, and it will tell you all of its details. Right. But again, BMW is a big company, so you have a huge number of languages, 7 languages, and then you need to cover a number of locations, which we don't have here. But let's say you also have, most of the countries in Europe. So let's say they gave you Europe, or even if they give you the whole world, you can imagine how much that can be. So you have 12 categories. Then in each category you have different models, which would make it maybe a total of, let's say, 30, 40 models. For each model you have 5 different objectives. And so let's say if you just multiply those two, even if you have one audience and one language, you would end up with 60 campaigns. Now, that's really not realistic, because the categories in and of themselves are going to be more. So if they're 20, you're going to end up with 100 campaigns. And in each campaign, you're going to be testing at least 3 audiences. So you're going to end up with at least 300 audiences. And then for these 300 audiences, you're going to have at least, if you multiply them by 5 different languages, you're going to have at least 1,500 ads within that, and maybe even 1,500 audiences. And then if you add to that, let's say if you add also the ads that you're going to have, let's say 3 ads per ad set, and let's just add that here and kind of multiply that to the ads, you're going to end up with 4,500 ads within one ad account. And then here's the problem. If you have your ads organized like that and they don't have a clear name, once you do your analysis and you want to see which is the best which are the best ads, which provide the best results, the lowest cost per conversion, and so on, and you want to do your analysis, you would have to go and open up every single ad over here to be able to see what's the copy that you wrote and what is the creative that you used and what is the ad type or the ad format. So is it a carousel? Is it a single image ad, and so on. So that kind of leads us over here first to the ad names. So the ad name, I like to have a campaign identifier, which you don't need. That's not really necessary. And then the second part would be the copy. And then that would be the creative. Right? This is kind of the very minimum. Plus, you can also have, like, for example, the country and the language of the ad. So because you can have, you can have 2 ads in English, or even 3, one for the United Kingdom where the price would be in pounds, one for Ireland where the price would be in euros, and one for the United States where the price would be in dollars. And also because of production and so on, there would be even different prices, maybe even completely different models that you're advertising. So this is one of the important things that you need to do to first name your ads. And on that front, it's really important for you to identify what are you advertising and what are you, maybe this is also here kind of the offer is important to mention. So in this case, if we are advertising the BMW 8 Series convertible M, right? So we have our campaign, which would be the 8 Series. We are advertising the M8 convertible. Then we are going to say, let's say our copy is going to be the so-called power copy, where we are focusing on how powerful and fast and sporty that car is, and our image is going to be red, and that's going to be targeted towards the United Kingdom in English. That's like a proper ad name, which when I look at the ad name, I know that this is from the 8 Series campaign. It's advertising the M8 convertible. It's focusing on the powerful features of the car, and it's using the red creative or whatever, however you decide to name your creatives, and it's in English for the UK market. Now, just by looking at that, I can see, you know, what it is. Then, when we move on to the ad set, what are the next important things to identify on the ad set level? The ad set kind of defines our targeting options, and so the important thing to do here is going to be kind of the campaign identifier, and then we are going to have the audience, and within the audience we actually select the we can have like maybe things like gender, age, and so on, you know, things like that. Let's say gender and age, and then we also have the language, location options, right? So if I was to name my audience in that sense, again for that same model, that would be the 8 Series campaign. In that, my audience would be the CEOs. Let's say I have that kind of audience. I decided that CEOs should be driving M8 convertibles, and then that audience, I can have one within that ad set. I can have the M8 convertible. I could also have the M5, the M6, whatever. I could be advertising different things over here, but the audience is what's important over here. So that would be CEOs between, let's say, 30 and 30 to 65 plus, let's say, or maybe that's not so appropriate. So let's say 30 to 55 would be my audience over here. And I have all for men and women. And in this case, let's say this specific audience is focusing on Germany, and it's in German, right? So now I can clearly see that this audience is targeting the CEOs between 30 and 35 of all genders in Germany, in German, and it's part of the 8 series campaign. Now, if you take a look at that, if we go here to the ad sets, if your ad sets are all named like that, it's going to be very, very hard for you to identify which audience is which. And if you just, let's say this one is the best performing one, this one is kind of an even better name, but let's say this is the best performing one, I would have to go again, open it up, and see what it is about. And also, when naming your ad sets, it's very, very important for you to mention what they are optimizing for. So that would be kind of the conversion event or like the optimization target. And in this case, we forgot to put that here, and we'll just add leads. Right? So this ad set is now completely finished, and we know that this is a leads campaign. And we can have different objectives that we're optimizing for in different ad sets for the same audiences, right? We can have one audience where we're just trying to get them to come to a website, where we're optimizing for traffic. Let's say, I'm not saying this is a good idea, but then we could also have another campaign where we're focusing on getting them to become leads, or we could also have another one where we're trying to get them to use the configurator, right? So these two are perfectly viable. And now, finally, what's left is the campaign. So we decided that we are going to use the main categories over here as our kind of main divider of campaigns. So in this case, I could have something like this. Here I'm using the 1 series as an example. First of all, if you are using the standard model, you would have conversions, and then you would have your different campaigns. In the CBO campaigns, you can have the ultimate goal, which would be, let's say, sales or maybe a test drive. And within that, you can have different ad sets for the CBO campaigns, just like I showed you before in the campaign structure video. But if you're using the standard structure, you would have, let's say, the 1 series campaign, which is conversions, or in this case, that would be traffic and awareness. And in the next one would be conversions and the configurator, and we could also use one for the test drive. Right? So far, so good. So now that we've spent about 15 minutes to discuss campaign naming conventions, I want to show you a really cool feature of Facebook that you can use to help you quickly name your campaigns. And I'll tell you why before we do that. If you don't do this from the very start, you will quickly end up with a huge number of campaigns, ad groups, and ads. And then once you start analyzing, you will have to open them up every single time to see which one is which. And that makes your analysis very, very, very hard. And it's going to waste you hundreds and potentially even thousands of hours throughout your life. And you don't want to do that. So that's why you want to set up the naming conventions. But especially if there's more than one person working on the account, you just need to come into Accord what the naming conventions are for this campaign so that everyone can see, how things are going. And this is really, really hard. And that's why this new feature that I'm going to show you now is going to help you a lot. So if you go to your business manager and go over here to the business tools, you will find the ad account settings under the advertise section. If you go to the ad account settings, you can go here to name templates. And name templates are really, really cool. So for example, as we have set over here, so let's say we're going to try and do this campaign over here and get from that, let's add one for the 8 series. And our objective here will be conversions, and we can even set maybe a budget, but let's say that's the 8 series conversions campaign. So first of all, we can edit our name templates, and here we have some certain options that we want to add. So the first component will be a text field where we say what campaign that is. So in this case, that would be the 8 series. And then we can use the other fields, like the objectives can be added manually, added automatically by Facebook. And then we can also use the ID or add the campaign budget optimization. So in this case, we want to have a bit of a cooler separator, and this is how it's going to look like. So it would say, when I create a new campaign, that would say 8 series, conversions, CBO on or off. In this case, it would be off. So let's save the campaign settings and move on to the ads. Get rid of those guys over here. And how did we decide to name our ads? We have the campaign identifier, the audience. No, we have the campaign identifier. We have the, let's just make that clear. We have the goal, the audience, gender and age, language and location, right? So let's see if we can do all that over here. So first of all, we have to do the campaign identifier. That's going to be a text field. We're going to link that ourselves. Then we are going to use the saved audience, which is going to be our audience that we selected. Wait, didn't we have something before that? We had optimization for ad delivery. This is our optimization goal. Then we have our saved audience, right? We have campaign identifier, which is text field. Goal is our optimization objective. Audience is the saved audience that we use, and then we can add gender and age. So here's gender, and here's age. I think that's quite enough, and we can also set a last text field if we want to add languages and so on and so on. And we want to separate the components using space, colon, space, so that it looks all nice and dandy. And then we're going to move on to the ad name. The ad name, we said that we're going to have the campaign, the offer or the product, the copy, the creative, and the language, right? So then let's just do that. First is our campaign identifier, which is going to be a simple text field. Then we are going to add another text field for the product, add another text field for the copy and the creative. So we have 4 text fields. Ads are not very well thought of. And then what we want to do finally is have the ad format automatically listed for us. We want to add our spaces over here just to make this look better, and then save it. So let's create our ad now, and just kind of I'll show you how this really speeds up and kind of make sure that you don't forget your naming conventions. So let's create a new campaign. Let's say it's going to be a conversions campaign. We are not going to name that campaign over here. We're just going to click continue and go over here and click on the name template. So first one, this would be the 8 series, right? We have one campaign for the 8 series. That would be that. Then once we create our ad set, we're going to use a name template, and you can see that it's asking us for our custom texts over here. So for the ad sets, first of all, we had the campaign identifier, which is going to be the 8 series, and let's say that this is going to be for the UK, and it's going to be in English. UK 8. So that's the 8 series, UK, English, right? And we don't have to do all of that over here. And we can choose our conversion event, which would be a lead in this case. And we're done. And then we can go to the ad. And in the ad, we are going to use the name template again. And then we're going to say this is an 8 series. It's the M8 convertible. It's the power copy. And it's the red creative. And as you can see here, this is going to be a single image ad. And if I use carousel over here, it's going to show me that it's a carousel, right? How cool is that? And then I can go and close this. And as you can see, if I go over here to the columns, just kind of customize them a little bit. Just add the campaign name, and add the ad set name, right? So let's add the campaign name, and we want the ad set name as well. It's a bit sad that you can't move the ad name further down the line, but then you can clearly see now what this ad is. And if I deselect all these guys over here, and I take a look at all of the ads in my campaign, let's take a look at the ads. Take a look at this. What's the difference between new ad CBO conversions, 1680 purchases, and this? This is the 8 series conversions campaign. We don't have an asterisk because we did not select a saved audience. Just to show you how that would look. It's not that we have any saved audiences, but let's create one just for the sake of this naming example. Let's create a saved audience, call that CEOs, and get rid of that country, and we will just go with interest targeting, and that would be CEO. All right, that's not going to work, so let's just go with behaviors. Anyways, just find the first one. So let's say these guys are going to be investment bankers. And that's how we're going to call it, investment bankers. Just, we don't care about any of this right now. We just want to create a simple audience. Right? I think we should be done with it. Let's say, let's just add a location so we can finish this. So this is, wow, there's 350,000 investment bankers in New York. You might be wondering why these people are so rich. Anyways, so we go back to our ads manager again, and you can see very clearly here that if we go to this ad set, just take a look at this. This is beautiful, and you can clearly see what that is, and you don't know what that is, and especially this one and this one. So here, if I go to my audience over here, I can use a saved audience. I can select the investment bankers and take a look at that. The name is going to change itself. And now I know this is the 8 series conversions goal investment bankers, all 18 to 65, United Kingdom, England. Now I know I selected New York for that audience, but that doesn't matter. We're just looking at the names right now, and this is kind of how you can see clearly what that ad is. And if that one is doing very good, you will know, and if it's not doing very good, you will know. And then you might also have, now let's say that you wanted to duplicate that ad. And make a copy inside of it. What you could do over here is just change some of the things over here. And let's say I wanted to do a change in the age range. And let's say I wanted to go with the 18 to let's say just make it more reasonable to 35 on this one. And then you can see this is the 18 to 35 and this is the 18 to 65 plus. And then I can clearly delete that copy over here. And take a look at this. This is quite beautiful, and I can very clearly differentiate what this is. I know both of these are investment bankers, both of these are conversions, but they have different age ranges. And then if I have different audiences within the same campaign, I can differentiate the audience just by looking at the name, and I don't have to open it up every single time to look at what's happening over here. And if you follow these conventions, they will save you a ton of time during analysis, and they will help you structure your campaigns better and understand them better and faster. Because if you have the general standard mess that we see in all kinds of campaigns, your analysis is going to be very hard, and sometimes you won't be able to spot the differences. Like, for example, if you have 100 campaigns and you see that a specific audience is popping up everywhere on the top and it's giving you the best performance and the lowest CPAs and the most conversions, then you can clearly identify just by the names, oh my God, this one is working and this one isn't. And you can do that for all these types of options just by sorting and ranking them by results, by CPA, by number of conversions, and so on, so that you can clearly and easily do your analysis and save yourself the time to have to open every single ad and ad set and campaign to see what settings you had in there. So I hope that this few minutes, or maybe like 20 something minutes you took to learn about naming your campaigns properly will save you really hundreds of hours, maybe even thousands in the future. So let's move on.